I'm Raya.
And I'm Brandon.
And you're watching
More Love with R and B.
Yes.
So, as you might have seen from the title, today we're going to talk about how we can't save every marriage. And the context of that is basically like we started our channel with the intention to try to strengthen and build up relationships and marriages particularly. But we're not naive to the truth that some relationships experience things that it just becomes nearly impossible to recover from. So we're going to talk about two of those things today.
Yes. The first topic that we are going to talk about is infidelity. And a lot of people, I've definitely seen comments, heard people talk about the fact that if they cheat, I'm not going to counseling. Like as soon as I find out, they're done. They're gone. And it's because not just the fact that the person had sex with somebody else. It's the lying. It's the sneaking around. It's the trust that's gone.
Yeah.
And the communication that's not had. And if you've watched a significant amount of our videos, you know that we have talked about the fact that communication is just so important in a relationship. It's like the most important thing in a relationship. And so when that is gone, when you feel like you can no longer communicate because the person that you're with has done something so heinous to break that trust, that there is no talking, there is no reasoning, there is no desire for discussion, that kills a relationship.
Yeah.
And some people just cannot recover from that.
Real talk. Another thing that marriages encounter that kind of seems nearly impossible to recover from is abuse. And surely we're talking about the typical like physical abuse, but this can also be mental abuse. This can be verbal abuse. Sexual abuse as well. Like all these things are just as effective at destroying a marriage as physical abuse, as actually raising your hands to hit someone. All those other methods are just as destructive and have extremely long-term side effects.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, like it would make it really tough for someone to kind of come back from that, to kind of regain trust, to feel safe again in a relationship where there was abuse. And that can be on either side. Either side can be abusive. And again, we're not just talking about physical abuse. People who hold on to things psychologically over time, verbal abuse is extremely hard to come back from. So it's one of those things that, you know, without the proper care, without the proper plan of reconciliation, it could just destroy the entire marriage.
Absolutely. And speaking of reconciliation, we didn't want to make a video that's just a downer. Like we said, we do realize that situations happen within marriages that can make you feel like there is no coming back, there is no redemption, the marriage is over. We have seen and experienced examples where people have been able to go through something like infidelity or abuse and have been able to come out on the other side with their relationship intact.
So we actually had worked with a couple and like walked them through infidelity, and it was one of those situations where we were kind of like, yo, I don't know how this is going to turn out. But, you know, we strongly believe that God can reconcile any marriage. We also believe that if the two actually wanted to stay together and work through it and recommit themselves to hold their vows, that they can make it through. And they did. And they're happily married today. You would never even know that they had went through a situation like that. But it happened. And the beautiful thing about it is they were able to come out on the other side. It took a lot of patience, a lot of crying, a lot of strain and stress and trust rebuilding.
Marriage community, for sure.
Marriage community, absolutely. And it just took a lot of time to kind of get things back on track. But it happened, and we were just extremely honored and humbled to be able to help walk them through that.
Yeah.
We didn't have any like magical powers or anything. Like, it was literally them putting in the work because they wanted to see their marriage thrive and flourish. And then they were able to just deal with how they got there in the first place. Like, you know, why did this happen?
Right.
How did we get here?
Right.
Like, those are things that we've encouraged you guys to talk about and figure out before those kinds of things happen,
right.
before destructive things occur.
Right.
Talk about where are we going and how are we getting there before issues happen. So to be able to be with them and kind of walk with them through life and through reconciliation, it was definitely a blessing to be able to see.
Absolutely.
Very encouraging.
Absolutely. I've also heard a story about a couple who experienced abuse within their marriage, and of course, again, a lot of people feel like you just can't come back from it. But because they both wanted to fight for their marriage, because they wanted to be married, they did everything that they needed to do to kind of bring the reconciliation back together.
Yeah.
With counseling, with trying to figure out why this abuse happened, what happened in the past that could get them to understand why abuse was there in the first place. Marriage community, trust, and a lot of faith and time.
Yeah.
Lots of time. And I think that's the problem. A lot of people don't want to put the years to rebuild trust, to rebuild stability and reconciliation within a marriage. And so our desire, like we said before, is to see marriages thrive, to see marriages reconcile and come together and be strong. But again, we are not naive to think that every marriage is capable of making it, especially if you have a person or if both parties are not willing to fight and put in the long haul, the better or worse part of their vows. If it's just too tough for them, then we understand, and we're not condemning anyone who feels like this thing was so heinous, this act or this betrayal was so difficult that there is no coming back from it. We're not condemning you if you feel like that's something that you have to do.
Not our place.
But our desire is that you remember your marriage vows, that you take them seriously, that you don't treat it as a joke and say, the minute you step outside of what I feel is a box, you're out with no kind of trying to work it out. Like, our desire is that you take your marriage vows seriously and that you try to work it out. Get in marriage community, get people together that you both trust, that can kind of help walk you through it. Get counseling and put in the work. Sometimes separation, especially in abuse, is needed. Is definitely needed. However, if the goal is, I take my marriage seriously, do you take our marriage seriously? Do you want this to work? Then let's do whatever we have to do to fight. And if that's there, then we believe that every marriage has the potential to work. Yeah,
I think the three main things that any marriage, that if a marriage is going to have the chance and the possibility and the potential to come back from any of those things that we talked about, it needs three crucial things. It needs a plan, it needs sacrifice, and it needs time.
Yeah.
I think if you have those three main things, you need a plan. Don't just kind of jump back willy-nilly and just say, oh, we're just going to figure it out as we go. Like, nah. Like, as we said, get with the marriage community or some counseling. Come up with a plan for how you are going to get back to a good place. You need to sacrifice. If you think that everything's going to stay the same and y'all going to work it out, that's not going to work. Somebody might need to give up something precious. Okay? Somebody might need to say, you know what? This is how much I'm willing to fight for this marriage, and I'm going to give up this thing that you probably think is extremely valuable and precious to me, probably more precious to you than you. I'm going to give that up so that I can fight for you. And then time. Like, don't look for this to happen overnight. Like, the people that we've worked with before, like, that stuff takes years sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a long time. Sometimes. Again, there's no way for us to know. But if you have those 3 things in place, then,
you do have the potential to have a marriage that will have a great story to tell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
we hope that you enjoyed this video.
yes.
We hope that you were able to be encouraged to know that marriage is tough, marriage is difficult, but it has the potential to work if we're willing to fight. So let's fight together. We have a few videos that talk about some tips that you may need in order to help fight in your marriage. And so if you haven't seen those, then stick around and check them out and leave your comments in the comment section below.
Yes, and if this is your first time seeing our videos, please click the subscribe button and stick around. We have a lot more content we're looking to bring to you guys, and we just want to get the conversation going. So please comment. Talk back to us.
Yeah.
And that's it. So
thanks for watching.
thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, bye.